drill before video.
I took a coffee.
Чтобы сейчас никто не упал. Пробки выбились. А вот это, смотри, выключилось тоже. А может, она перегорела? Перегорела. Что случилось? Денек-огонек у нас сегодня. Хорошо, дорогие друзья, мы продолжаем наше интервью с Максом. Это вторая часть. Я начну с того места, на котором мы остановились. И я хотела бы от себя тоже сказать, что как только я решила... Помнишь, Макс, о чем мы говорили, что бы ты сделал по-другому? Угу. И вот первый момент по поводу того, что сказать открыто, что вот я есть, и я саентолог, и я предоставляю саентологию. Вот у меня это был тоже переломный момент, потому что я пыталась как-то там, что я психолог, что какая-то точка безопасности. И вот как только я сказала, что я саентолог во всех своих соцсетях, когда мы открыли канал на YouTube, я почувствовала невероятную силу, мощь, и к нам стало приходить гораздо больше людей.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is really a coming out, and it makes you so much. It's a big release when you just say, "Here I am, it's me." There's nothing you have to lose, you know. You just stand for yourself. That is really a great moment. I loved it. Yeah, we had this moment, Erika and I. We decided, you know, in '95, somewhere in March or so, we were looking. It was really a key moment for us. We were looking over what are we going to do, because we had all these people around us who rewrote the technology, denied it, Scientology, it's Harvard, whatever, and made it all anew. And we tried it and we failed with it. We didn't have any success. I mean, it was also not a failure on the other side, but it was certainly not a success. And then we were sitting there and thought, what are we going to do? And then we said, you know what? We stay with L. Ron Hubbard. We stay with the materials, with the original materials. I mean, then we have at least those people who want to do Scientology. And we did it, and our statistic instantly started to move upwards. It was also very shortly after, maybe 1-2 months later, Ottfried, Elke, and Daniela came to us, and they were looking for a new senior CS. And that was really the start point of our expansion.
Супер. Сейчас мы плавно перейдем к нашим лагерям, российским лагерям. Расскажи, пожалуйста, что для тебя вот эти вот лагеря, которые стали уже международными, вообще, что это в твоей миссии? Какое это значение имеет в твоей миссии?
They're extremely important. I mean, we know that coming to Russia, it's a big field here. We built up here something incredible. I mean, it's not just our work, it was very much also your work. I mean, all the CSs and auditors here. And we knew that's a unique chance we have here. So we took it, and for us it was extremely important in regard to the technology. We learned so much because suddenly we had a big field. It was a big internship. Basically, we had to apply what we knew, but we also had to correct, and we had to find out what is right and what is wrong. And I'm absolutely sure in it that without that, we never would have found out what is really right and wrong, where Hubbard left. You know, other people, there was a discussion in the last 10 years or so, maybe 15 years, about what happened with L. Ron Hubbard, when did he go away, what happened in the 70s and the 80s and so. And of course I was involved a little bit in these discussions, not so very much, because it was for me so difficult to get the facts. You hear that person, you hear another person, and you hear literally dozens, if not hundreds of people saying, well, they have seen that, they experienced that, and Hubbard and this and so on. but after all you are depending just on opinions what they have heard. Very rarely people have seen him and were really sure this was L. Ron Hubbard. Some have been sure, but I don't know if they have really have seen him and knew it was Hubbard. I mean, a long discussion. And I and Erika, we stood a little bit on distance on these discussions. And we just continued with our technology. And by sorting out what is right and wrong in the application, I mean, directly in the ivory tower, in the PC's chair, in the course room, we really could trace it back to 72 and say, there is a cut. What exactly happened, we don't know. Still not to this day. But there is a cut. In 72 is a cut, definitely. And we can prove that. We can prove that red on white, green on white, we can prove there is a cut. And so that became a very stable data. But that is something which just became a stable data only a few years ago. This is not very long ago. It's probably 5 years ago. We really could say that's the moment.
Супер. Правильно ли я понимаю, что сейчас лагерь этот движется в направлении все-таки международного лагеря? То есть это некая площадка, где могут собраться люди из разных стран и обучаться и на русском, и на английском, и, может быть, еще другие языки подключатся. То есть правильно ли я вижу направление развития лагерей?
Good question. We have to see what we will see, what will happen. We are working in this direction. We had some good starts, and then the COVID came, and we had to step backwards a little bit and wait, and I don't know where it's going. But of course, we need to have connections. We need a qualification, and the camp is a qualification. I really found out the connectedness is a big qualification. If you are alone, then that gives you space for a lot of squirrel, alteration and whatever. But if you have to get together and talk about it, then you have to say, well, I did so and so and so and so, and then you can say, where did you learn that? Whatever. And it's a big qualification function at camp when you meet again and again. So that's very important for sure.
Да, я хочу подтвердить, что для меня это как раз каждый раз скачок. То есть для меня как аудитора, как для супервайзера, как для клира при IT, да, это то место, где я получаю суперкоррекцию и суперпродвижение. И мне очень нравится работать в классе. Знаешь, происходят такие моменты, когда, например, один студент делает так, другой студент делает так, но только через ссылки, то есть через материалы, где это написано, давай посмотрим, мы приходим как бы обратно к технологии. Вот, то есть это, а мы же все из разных организаций, и получается, что мы возвращаемся к стандартам, если кто-то вдруг немного отошел от них, добавились какие-то мнения. Вот, то есть я это прям вижу сейчас в классе. То есть это супер.
Yes.
Скажи, что ты считаешь самым слабым местом в свободной зоне или в Ронсоргах в частности?
That's what I'm always talking about. Div 6. We have not enough people. We have not mastered that yet. We need to make. I mean, we're just not out of non-X. We are still deeply in non-X as Scientologists. Well, we're not a non-X as a camp or as an organization, basically. When you look at the statistic of a single auditor or small group, but in general, in regard to the society, we are just in non-X. We are not existing. We are not here at all. They don't know about us. They don't know how to find us. And that's a real big outpoint. And I tried to handle that since many years. And well, I think we are doing better in that more and more, but there is still a lot to do. And that would handle a lot of other problems. We are now having problems. we think they're just normal, but if we are expand, this problem just disappears and other problems would appear and we would have to handle those. And I'm looking forward to that.
Да, Макс, я согласна с тобой полностью. Скажи, как ты думаешь, нам стоило бы развиваться, вот как шестое отделение, как отдельные какие-то, вот знаешь, вот, чтобы каждый брал ответственность, внештатные сотрудники, студенты, приклиры, отдельные маленькие организации, большие организации, или нам нужно создавать какое-то общее мнение, как о большой такой вот сети, о большом сообществе, и сделать больше каких-то координированных общих усилий, чтобы люди нас воспринимали как сообщество. Вот как ты чувствуешь, было бы лучше?
I don't know really what to answer to that. It is, see, I think what is going to happen is that a few organizations will really make it. They will become big organizations, and then we have to take it from there. But of course we should need to stay connected and help each other. That is a big, big help. And also in regard of qualification and many other things. But how exactly that will evolve, I don't know. But there are certain things we have to coordinate very closely, especially with the books and these kind of things. And I think that will make life much easier. But we have to find a way, and we will find it.
Ты знаешь, еще вот по поводу Freezone, по поводу свободной зоны, по поводу Ронсоргов, те, кто еще не пришел к нам, например, с церкви Сcientology, они говорят, что а как вы так вот не становитесь сквиралами, да? Очень большая опасность, что вот из-за того, что вы нет контроля, нет такого многоступенчатого контроля, да, что вы такие все вот как сеть. Как вы сохраняете технологию стандартной? Вот как ты думаешь, почему за столько лет все-таки мы сохраняем технологию? То есть все-таки мы не уходим в какой-то сквирлинг. Вообще в чем секрет?
Well, Eric and I, we kept very strong to, I wouldn't say standard tech. At a certain moment we skipped this term and said, well, standard tech is kind of a service vaccine. Because what is standard tech? You know, you can take Dynetics, you can take Dynetics from the Dynetics book or Dynetics 66 or Hubbard Standard Dynetics, and then you have new aerodynetics and whatever. And it's all, what is now standard and what is not standard. And then we had to make a decision between Hubbard Standard Dynetics and new aerodynetics and so on. So our policy is keep to L. Ron Hubbard. And my policy was let them do what they can do and then see what they did with it. And sometimes they had big success with something, just a process they found somewhere. And so that's fine, there's a reference, there's a bulletin to it, whatever. And you can apply that, that's not forbidden. And we just kept to this technology, and then we could say that is the correct way. As long as you stay with L. Ron Hubbard and with the materials, you are somehow on the correct path. That's the secret.
То есть это, по сути, все-таки ответственность каждого из нас. То есть просто, когда человек двигается по мосту, он не может себя обманывать. То есть каждый из нас старается добиваться до истины, докапываться. И поэтому мы держимся, можно сказать, на своей этичности. Я так понимаю.
Absolutely. We have to really read and duplicate what's there. And sometimes I'm absolutely surprised what people see or especially not see in the materials. And you have to point the people's attention always back to the source. That's the trick, nothing else. And when you then, as I said, standard tech is really sometimes used as a service fact. It is to make people wrong and say, this is right and I am because of that and so on. Read the materials. That's it. And of course, you have always a little bit an interpretation of the technology. You have 100 auditors and every auditor is doing it a little bit different, and here They're always referring to the same materials, basically. But that's how it is. And the other thing what is important, in Div 6 you have another standard than you have on the class 8 or even on the class 12. And we should really know how to shift gears. We should not put the materials from very top down to the COM course or to the class 0 or Hubbard Standard Dynetics course. You have on Dynetics course, you have a standard, and top on class 8 you have another standard. I mean, in Dynetics 66, he says about, yeah, give the auditor an E-meter. If he can read it or not, doesn't matter. So what is this kind of a standard? But it's good. It's really good. It's another standard when someone is giving a book 1 session or the Dynetics 66 session than someone who is auditing on Hubbard Standard Dynetics or on class 8.
Да, согласна. Что ты считаешь своим самым большим достижением в реализации твоей миссии?
I would say the biggest achievement is that we kept the tech around. 1990 to 95, we were really almost defeated. Everybody went away and nobody wanted to keep with as called standard tech or L. Ron Hubbard, and so everybody wrote it anew, and we said no, we stick to it and we go that path, whatever is going to happen. And I think that's the biggest achievement, that we kept this flame alive. I don't know what would have happened, I'm sorry to say so, what would have happened if Erika wouldn't have been here? Because there was nothing anymore around. I don't know if anyone would have kept it alive and would have had the strength to bring it forward. That is really the biggest achievement. And then of course, in the wake of that, or with this intention, we collected all the materials. Internet helped us a lot to get all the missing bulletins and stuff. Suddenly, you know there is a reference, and you just could ask on the internet, hey, does anyone have this reference? Oh yes, I have it, I scan it for you. And then you have had it, and he was just on the other side of the planet. You had not even an idea that he is existing, and he sent you the reference. And sometimes, just recently, we got a class 8 pack, then you got all the references, and here is the reference, here is the missing link, finally I got it, and so we got it all together. And I think that's a big achievement, to have all the materials in one place. It doesn't matter if it is cancelled, revised, or still valid. It was really a policy to keep it all. It doesn't matter what it is. So finally we can then take a look at it and say, oh well, that's this issue, then it got revised, then it got changed to a BTB, and then it got changed back to an HCOB again, and it got revised again, and so, but you have the full track of it, and that's important. And finally we can decide, like, look, that's the origin, and we stick to that.
Super.
There's something I have to add here. Erika and I, we are a team, but we are basically very different. And we often spoke about that, and we know both. She alone would haven't made it, and I alone wouldn't have made it. We are really like yin and yang, completing each other. But I was going much more the person who went forward, and she was much more the person who sticked. This is standard, this and so, She was much more on that line, and I was trying this and so on. I was much more open, basically. Even so, I also went back to L. Ron Hubbard, and also she went forward. It's not that it's only neither nor, but we really complemented each other very, very much. So that was very important, that this is really something she alone wouldn't have made it, and I alone wouldn't have made it. That's quite an amazing agreement and cognition Erika and I have about that.
Потрясающе. Это как, знаешь, как все-таки групповая саентология, это групповое действие. То есть это действие третьей динамики.
Absolutely. And this is the third part, and when we came to Russia, that complemented even more, because we suddenly had absolutely different viewpoints. you know, we came, they were all, we had to handle so many things, and the Russians, this field, these were open to many, many things we have not been open to, and we listened to it, you know, and that gave quite some changes in it. For example, let me put the point with Dynetics. In 78, there came the kind of policy, Dynetics is forbidden on OTs and clears and OTs. And we adopted that policy, we adhered to it, that was firm. And then we came here and we observed some people were auditing this on Dynetics and that on Dynetics, and then some were auditing Dynetics on OTs, and we had to observe it, and we said, oh well, that's a high crime, and so. But finally we found out, that's not what L. Ron Hubbard was saying originally. We started to take a careful look at all materials from before 72, I mean in the 60s, then around 70, then 78, and even later. We started to compare it all, and suddenly we had to say, you know what? Sometimes it's really necessary that you audit an OT on Dynetics, because there is a Dynetics case and it is absolutely mandatory to audit that. So we had to shift the gears.
Точно, я знаю этот опыт, сама на себе испытала, абсолютно подтверждаю это, да. Макс, знаешь, то есть как-то я подумала, что вы как вот хранители технологий, но на самом деле я сейчас вижу, что тут огромная работа по исследованию и поиску, то есть вот это собрать, совместить, проанализировать, то есть колоссальная работа. И я каждый раз это чувствую, то есть как каждый раз вот новый виток, когда мы Эль-Рандауны, да, изучали, это тоже такой вот прям шаг огромный. Да, и, кстати, я хотела спросить сразу, Эль-Рандаунам я хотела посвятить отдельное интервью, но сейчас маленький вопрос, насколько тяжело было собрать материалы по Эль-Рандаунам?
I had about 3 or 5 different kind of versions of L. And the real L's, and I don't know what else. And I looked at it, and sometimes it was really difficult to make up the mind. How does that fit together? What is the process behind it? What is the intention behind it? It was very difficult to understand. And the most important thing, I mean, there was some really ridiculous moments in it. I remember when we started with it, Ottfried was also involved in it. And then he was actually writing a letter to Pierre Etier. He passed away. And his reaction, I mean, we wanted him, I mean, there's not many people who can give us really information about the L's. They are all passed away or disappeared, whatever, or just didn't talk with us. That was just unbelievable. They just plainly refused to communicate with us. And his reaction was, he wrote an email back, you are out ethics, and if you don't handle your out ethics, I'm talking not with you. That was his reaction. This kind of letter was. That was amazing, you know. So we couldn't ask anyone. Then there was Ray Robles, but he was not really trained by L. Ron Hubbard. He was not trained in the church. He got it, I think, partially from Pierre Etier and partially himself. I don't know. So we had the materials, but we still couldn't really rely on someone competent on it. There was really nothing. And then I was there and looking at it, and we had the materials from Ray Robles, and that was, what shall I do with that? And so, well, there was some good things in it without any question, but I couldn't use that as a training lineup. It was just a research lineup. And so I was sitting there and had no idea what to do with it. And I mean, the experience we have had in all those many years helped a lot. And then you had some questions in your mind, and you start to search for it, and you read this lecture, and you listen to that, and so on. And then suddenly you find the answers in the materials. It was sometimes really funny. There was one part about it, how to deal with that. And we made it once so, And then we thought, no, that's wrong, we made it so, then we turned it back some, and it was not satisfying. And then suddenly I find a policy letter where it's written in it. It's a policy letter, not even in a HCRB, and then we know, that's the correct one, so we have to do it. So we try and error.
Огромная работа, просто потрясающе, да. Я правильно поняла, что даже когда мы начали уже их предоставлять, в процессе тоже выяснялись новые данные, какие-то находились новые материалы, и уже в процессе опыта, в процессе применения, да, как бы находилось, может быть, там не хватало каких-то материалов, и их еще раз искали. То есть вот я правильно понимала, что когда мы уже аудитировались, еще продолжалось вот это вот исследование? Или, может быть, я не права?
Yeah, absolutely. Certain things we really had to find out how can we deal with that. This is the big problem on the else is we are lacking a lot of materials from this time. We have really no idea what are the original materials. I've spoken with a guy from Italy. He is also so against the Ronsorg. Squirrel. But I spoke with him and he said he had the possibility to study the L10 probably or something, or in L11 or all the Ls on flag when he was there an auditor. And he said it was impossible to read. And I know what he is talking about because there were copies of copies, and these copy machines in those years, especially when it's confidential, you hardly could read the letters, and he was going through that. And that was we have been confronted with. These materials are not being in a good condition, You couldn't take a book and that's a bulletin and you can read it, and then you had no doubts about it. No, it was basically impossible. So we were depending on all those copies in the field, and we didn't have the original. Many other things. I mean, actually, all we had the originals. Well, sometimes they were missing. Quite a lot of bulletins were missing, but in all the years we got them, and we could say that is the original bulletin, that was written, and so on. But in the else, we still have the problem. And then there is some lecture series. We still have no idea what's all about. There's a lecture series in 75 by L. Ron Hubbard, about 30 lectures. But we have dates, we have titles, but we have never ever seen a tape or transcript or a person who have heard these tapes. But they're listed in the What is Scientology book from 78, but we have absolutely no idea about it. I think there was maybe a recollections of lectures, but we have never found anything. And from all the other stuff, we always got somewhere some kind of hints, a copy or something. And so there's things missing, we still don't know.
Да, потрясающая была работа сделана, и сейчас мы имеем такие плоды. Я на себе испытываю, да, это огромная благодарность, на самом деле, которую каждый раз ее ощущаю.
Yes, and it really helps us in many regards that we just could audit the people and prepare them for the next step. And I'm pretty sure we will have some big steps in front of us.
Здорово, да, прекрасно.
Not for technology, but for administration and expansion. Because I tell you, if we handle the situation or the sixth issue, if we get, let me say, if you in Istochnik or in Moradin or we in Grenchen, it doesn't matter where, or in Rostov, if we get, for example, every week 4 people on the bridge, I mean, really someone who's starting on the HQS, and then of course goes further, so we have every week 4 new people who are dedicated. I tell you, within half a year, you are in trouble. You need to organize yourself. You need to have more staff. You have to train staff. And you have to see how you get that all under one hat. That becomes quite a challenge. You have no idea what we are heading if this is going to happen.
Я предвкушаю, как это все будет. Ну, естественно, мы должны очень много сейчас продолжать делать. Да.
Ron says affluence is the most dangerous condition there is. And this is exactly what's going to happen. If this is going to happen, this is really a real dangerous condition. And I'm aware of that. I'm absolutely aware of that. And that will be a challenge by itself. It's not just a matter of what to do with the money or something. But if you have such an expansion, you have to organize the people. You have to deal with people. You have to throw away people. There are so many things you have to do. And that is a challenge, I tell you. I know it will be a challenge. So I have no experience on that.
Супер.
Right now we are taking care for every case, basically, you know. Doesn't matter on what level and how good or how bad the person is. But yes, yeah, we have to handle him, and even if it takes 1,000 hours of auditing to handle him, you know. But if we have a lot of people, then you just take the more able beings, and if you can or not, you will forget about the others. You have just no chance. It is, if you have, let me say, 100 pieces and you have just 5 auditors, then you will take those who can pay, those who have time, those who are moving forward, and you forget about the others if you want or not.
Да, согласна полностью, потому что, знаешь, когда очень большой класс, например, и я как супервайзер, есть такой вот у супервайзера, сначала удели внимание, у кого тон 5-0, а потом у кого там все хорошо, потом меньше, и если уже время осталось, то удели тому, кто там валяется под столом. И вот когда так относишься к классу, то класс расцветает, и эти, которые валяются, тоже встают и что-то начинают делать.
Yes, this is what Ron says.
Да, согласна полностью. Ну, вообще, относительно эльрандаунов и админа, я обязательно хочу с тобой отдельно как-нибудь поговорить. А сейчас мы пойдем дальше. Как ты думаешь, как так получилось, что Рон за 22 года сделал больше, чем мы за 26 лет?
He did his training. He knows what he is talking about. I mean, this guy or this Satan, I have to say, he has so much done before. And he knows it, you know. He's aware of it. It doesn't mean that he knows every breakfast he has had, but he has the knowledge of how to deal with people, how you talk with people, how you handle people, how you investigate things, analyze things, and all those things, you know. There's so many things, and he is just another being. He is from another level. And I mean, I have observed that many times. When you look at Homo sapiens, they are so different. Some people, some Homo sapiens or Satans are so small. And others are just huge. But they still have the same body. You know, they come to school and you have a teacher and he has 25 pupils or something. But they are so different in the quality. But the body is the same. They're all 7 years old. But the rest is different. Absolutely different. And he is, I mean, Ron is just so above of most of the Satans here on planet Earth. I wouldn't say he was the only one who is clever. There are many other clever beings around without any question. But he is an exception. He's a class of his own. And I'm pretty sure in this universe he is not alone, but on planet Earth, probably. So I don't know how many other such clever, trained people are around, but he is really exceptionally. And we are still learning and we are improving. And I mean, I see that, you know, you see children, you know, I see Vivian, I see Julie, and you see the qualities they bring with them. You know, you know exactly, this is the same mama, same papa, and the same kind of genes, but they are different and they bring knowledge with them. And you clearly can see that. You have had your, or do you have 3 children yourself? So you see every child is different. They bring something with them, you know, and that is really the fantastic thing we are experiencing here. It's not just a body with a brain and that's it. No. There's much more behind it, and very often we just don't know it, we don't see it, because it's invisible for the naked eye, but you need to see it as a Satan, and so. And that's, it's really, it's beautiful.
Да. То, что ты сказал, у меня очень сильно откликается, и вот именно такое же восприятие я относительно Рона получаю. Был вопрос от людей, вот, которые мне задавали вопросы для тебя, для Эрики. Что влияет на величину тетана? Вот ты сказал, что бывают такие маленькие тетаны, да, бывают такие большие. Эрика сказала такую вещь, что, говорит, вот филадельфийский докторский курс – это такая азбука для тетана. Вот. И вот из того, что ты сейчас сказал, что я поняла, да, или вот что я почувствовала, что чтобы развиваться, чтобы быть больше, нужно просто применять и делать. То есть оно не может вот так вот взять и произойти. Как Рон, например, он готовился, да, он до этого очень много сделал. То есть нужно просто продолжать. Вот, может быть, у тебя есть какая-то волшебная палочка где-то там запасена, как увеличить вот эту вот мощь тетана, как стать больше.
First of all, the being himself has to recognize it. Otherwise, you have absolutely no chance. You can beat someone to death with data and training. If he or she doesn't want, you have no chance. That's a bad thing. But if he wants, and if he's willing to train, he can really advance. And the main thing is the doingness. I mean, you have the data, you need the data without any question, but then you have to do it. And I observed it myself, you learn something. You do a course, and then you go in session and so on, and you have your difficulties in the sessions, and you get a pink sheet or a cramming, and you reread it and so on. And finally, I had to make once a retrain on level 3 and 4, and it was amazing what I have seen there. You studied that a few years before, now you study it again. And it is amazing. And Ron says, you should go 3 times through a check sheet. So, somewhere he says you should go 9 times through a check sheet. Yes, I agree with him pretty much. And we really should do that. And we shouldn't study a bulletin for 3 days, intensively and carefully. No, we should go quickly through it and duplicate it as good as we can, go for training again, to apply it again, and then study it again. And then you start to see much, much more in the materials. And this is what we miss here a little bit. We should, we have quite some application here in the camp. And this is why I want to have the class 8 separate, that we just study, that our highest trained auditors just studying. That's a good thing, that they can restudy it. And both things, doing, studying, doing, studying, doing. This combination is extremely important. And of course, TRs are important, but the doingness is just important. This is why I like the initial approach into Scientology so very much. The initial part is you do TRs, you do objectives, and you get some basics of Scientology, and you change a being incredibly with this little bit of technology. It's a big impact on everyone who's doing that.
Я тоже так чувствую, на самом деле. У нас есть девочка на КСХ, она сейчас получает объективы, и вдруг она на объективах пошла работать, уладила отношения с мамой, и вообще стала причиной. Это было потрясающе.
Yes. Yes.
Да. У нас возникает много дискуссий между организациями среди тех людей, которые заинтересованы в том, чтобы ронсорги развивались. Мы общаемся часто. И дискуссии на тему того, а как развиваться, нужно ли строить большую, мощную организацию, соединиться всем вместе, например. Или нужно продолжать развиваться как сеть, потому что есть опасность, что если это будет большая организация, то придут какие-нибудь шпионы, захватят ее, как было с церковью, да. И вот где этот, не знаю, может быть, золотая середина, да, или, может быть, все-таки нужно только как большая, или продолжать как сеть. Как ты чувствуешь, как ты думаешь, Хотя я думаю, что ты сейчас скажешь, что мы сами должны найти это решение, но, может быть, все-таки у тебя есть какая-то такая сформированная точка зрения, что вот надо бы вот так.
Yes, for sure, I have. I think the times of the spies is over. There's a game of Räuber und Gendarm, as we say in German. This is over. And David Miscavige somehow is disappeared. Don't know exactly what happened to him, but I'm happy about that. And I don't feel an attack anymore from the church. It's really gone. So we are no more afraid of spies, and that's a big advancement, that we just can keep the doors open and get the people in, and we don't have to be afraid it could be a spy. Then about consolidating and organizing, and so we are organizing or we are consolidating on a very, very low level. I just have to repeat that. This is, I mean, if you have an org with maybe 3, 4, 5 staff members, that's, to my perception, not an org. This is just a few field auditors who organize themselves somehow. And not even to talk about when you have just 1 or 2 staff members. That's, to my perception, not an organization. This is like you would call a match a fire. That is, yeah, it's a flame, but it's not a fire. A fire is if you have a lot of sticks on each other, you know, a real heap of wood burning or even more. That's a fire. And this is what we have to work. We have to work in this direction. We have to, I have the impression I have somehow to bypass the Div 6 a little bit here. Even so, I see now quite some good advantages or advancements in Moradin and Rostov, you know, and it's quite good. I like it. I'm really happy to see that. I see advancement there, but still it is not what I'm looking for. And I still have the impression I have to go another way. And I have some ideas. I don't want to talk about that here, but I have ideas and I'm working on it, and I have to find the people, and I have a rough concept, but it's not worked out yet.
А ты знаешь, я еще хотела добавить, у меня недавно произошло такое понимание. С одной стороны, я ощущаю, насколько я мощнее в группе. То есть выхлоп, результат очень большой. И хочется работать вот прям вот в классе, да, или взять какое-то отделение. Действительно хочется. Но у меня есть еще опыт последний, что жизнь настолько меняется, и настолько много каких-то новых технологий, новых идей вообще в обществе, что, например, когда я хочу какой-то проект, среди нас есть такие творческие люди, которые не просто встраиваются в структуру, знаешь, они любят свои проекты большие, но хочется все равно с этим большим проектом быть частью большой группы. И вот в моем случае мне понравилась идея, когда я делаю проект, но он становится частью, он может стать, я хотела бы, чтобы он стал частью большой организации. Например, проект продвижения онлайн, проект обучения онлайн для 6-го отделения. И сейчас как раз я тестирую это, и насколько я вижу, что будут какие-то уникальные новые идеи, как мощные игроки могут встраиваться в общую систему, но со своими проектами. Но не отдельно, а как бы вот вместе. Вот это мое восприятие, я вижу, что так возможно.
Yes, that's good.
It could be.
Everybody has to contribute. But I got much more aware of what is missing when I was reading OEC 1. That is something, you know. Ron came in with the books, and that's the backbone of the dissemination. And he went very broad with that. And this is what we don't do in the moment. We can't do it, or we haven't done it. That's the main thing. And out of that, we have many other projects, like yours. And then we get more and more people in. But the backbone is somehow still missing. And the church, this is now really a difficult question. I don't know if we should pick it up here, but look, the funny thing is the church got forbidden here in Russia, when I'm not mistaken, not the church got forbidden, but the L. Ron Hubbard Library, the book got forbidden. But as I understood, the books are not forbidden by itself. So when you print it yourself here and you work with that and prepare it and make it, it's not forbidden. So we can build upon that. So we should take the chance and go there. But the church itself made everything so complicated and so on. I mean, but this is now an absolutely huge subject, and I can go into that, but that's another 3-hour subject.
Я согласна с этим полностью. И по поводу админ-технологий я хочу подтвердить, я сейчас изучаю том 0. И основное изменение как раз у меня было, когда я встала, сделала канал и стала открыто говорить, абсолютно прямо, было, когда я изучала том 0, это было мое собственное осознание, я это сделала.
Yeah.
Да.
This is exactly what we need. We need to study those stuff.
Точно.
It's amazing what stuff we can find there. And
да, согласна. И скажи, пожалуйста, вот, то есть получается, что не нужно бояться делать большую организацию, да, ну, я согласна на самом деле с этим. Единственное, знаешь, у нас в России есть такое, что что-то очень большое привлекает внимание правящих кругов, да, а что это тут такое большое, что это они там такое делают? И есть какой-то такой страх из Советского Союза, может быть, знаешь, вот из прошлого, что это могут разрушить, запретить, просто потому что это большое. Вот, ну вот, это такая некая оригинация с моей стороны, я с ней, возможно, справляюсь уже, да, но, возможно, это вот русская реакция на что-то большое.
I don't think it's the government. I really don't think so. I really think it's probably much more the Orthodox Church who considers you a threat and uses the government for their purpose, of course. And this is, this is always a little bit a challenge when something new is coming. But I think this is something also a bit thinking about, I think we Scientologists in the church, in the Freezone, in the Ronsorg, we have a little bit a problem with identity. And I think in the last few years I started to find out that we should define us correctly as an entity. I was always thinking we are some kind of the libertarian side and so, and free thinking and so, but we are conservatives basically. With our thing, we are in the conservative corner, and we should define that, and we should define it correctly. I mean, that is something we have never done. We just were fighting for our survival. We were not thinking about our identity. So, but this is something we have to build up, and first of all, we have to understand it. That is quite a process, because we are all kind of people together, and we don't understand that really. That's a big problem. But in the last few years, that came to my mind, and I think that is one of the next steps to define that.
Спасибо, мне очень помог твой ответ.
It's a very interesting discussion, actually. You have to understand when we consider that L. Ron Hubbard was Buddha. Let me assume this is correct. Then we have the Buddhism. Out of that Buddhism came actually Christianity. It's just a following. This is now something, I don't know if we can show that in the interview later. This is really a difficult subject, because it is going to invalidate other religions, and I don't want that. But to understand it, we have then the Buddhism coming via Christianity, later even via Islam. It's also influenced by it, coming to Europe. And now we are building up Scientology upon that, but Christianity, for example, consider us as a huge concurrence, which we are basically not. We are basically the same, and we are following up. I had a very beautiful acknowledgement from that side when, I have given to my father Scientology. He did a little bit of courses and so a little bit of auditing, not very much, but he read some books. And finally he said, thanks to Scientology, to what he read, he started to understand Christianity, what he didn't really understand before. So that was for me a big acknowledgement, but it also shows it's a development, and it's not an against. That's a very important thing, and we need to go in the direction how we can include the church, how we can make it to our ally, or at least that they do not perceive us as an enemy. Right now they perceive us as an enemy, and they try to put it down. We have seen that in the West in the 70s. We were attacked by the Christian and the Catholic Church very heavily. It was not so much the government. The government came later, and that was then the socialists, and that's also communism, which is against Scientology. That's the government, but you don't have this government form anymore. You don't have a communistic. Maybe you still have a socialistic government to some part. I don't understand that correctly, but I have always seen that the enemies came from the socialist parties, not from the right wings. I always thought the right wings are our enemies, but suddenly I recognized, no, it's opposite, absolutely different. And the more communistic you have, the less Scientology. So in China, where you have communistic things, it's very difficult to get in there. Or when you go in a Muslimic country, you have a strong religion. They are also very against any other religion. There's only one religion, and that's Muslim.
Я хочу подтвердить, что я помню, что Хаббар где-то писал, что саентология помогает человеку лучше познать его Бога, вот то, что ты подтвердил. И когда я говорю это людям со своей религией, это очень хорошо их улаживает.
Yes.
И вот раз уж мы заговорили о правительстве, о правительствах, скажи, пожалуйста, считаешь ли ты правительства нашими врагами?
No. No, they are not really our enemies. There are certain elements in governments which are bad, beyond any question, but I do not perceive the Russian government as our enemy, not at all. And I also do not consider the Swiss government our enemy, not at all. But there are some parties in the countries which target us as enemy. Always. Some parties consider religion as a threat. Because there's there are some government forms, they say, well, we need only religion. When you go in the Middle East, with the Islam, they want actually a religious state, or how they say, a church state, and they do not think in political terms as we do. And when we go to our governments with our parties, some parties, they say, well, that's absolutely fine, you can do whatever you want, and others say, no, we want to control what you do and think and so on. And that's rather from the red wing, from the left wing. And that's sometimes a problem, but the government by itself, no, I think not, it's an enemy. And we should find ways how we can cooperate, and we need to explain it to them what we want. And I think we would be an excellent Ergänzung, it would be complement when we work together. That would be helpful, because the government, the state or the society needs what we have very, very much. Every society needs religion, if they know it or not, if they want it or not, but it's what's needed. If we cannot do that, then we will end up in a police state, and this is not what we want.
Согласна. Скажи, как ты видишь развитие саентологии через 20, через 50, через 150 лет?
We will see. We will see. We should take actually Hubbard as an example. When he started, he came into it and he made big advancements within 20 years. It was unbelievable. And then the 70s still was a big movement upward. And we can repeat that. And when the time is ready for it, and if we are ready for it, we can have an expansion which is just extraordinary. It's depending on our havingness. And we have to work on that. And then, of course, we have to work how to deal with it. But I don't know where it's going. Look, when I left the church in 1983, I thought the time for the church is over. They will disappear within a year. That is what I thought when I left the church in 1983. They're still existing. I didn't expect that at all. So it's for me difficult to make a prophecy to the future, how we will develop. But this is absolutely impossible for me. But I hope that we really make a big movement forwards in the next few years.
Да, согласна. Ну, я очень надеюсь, что мы будем развиваться очень хорошо. Последний вопрос, Макс. Я его не показывала тебе в списке. Ты знаешь, этот вопрос задает каждый саентолог. Каждый. Я не видела ни одного саентолога, который бы не задал этот вопрос, начиная с КСХ. И люди получают очень разные ответы. Они не нашли какого-то одинакового ответа на этот вопрос. И они продолжают его задавать. И один студент набрался смелости и попросил все-таки задать тебе этот вопрос. Птицы летают?
Yes, they do.
Спасибо, Макс. Спасибо тебе огромное. Я получила огромное удовольствие от этого интервью. Я надеюсь, что наши гости, кто будет смотреть, тоже получат огромное удовольствие. Спасибо.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Всего хорошего. Увидимся в следующих выпусках. Все, мы сделали!
Without light.